In this video tutorial, I will show you how to create a login form for your website by using jQuery, PHP and MySQL. So, stay with me. Hey, what's up guys? Senaid here from codingpassiveincome.com, the place where I help others to become a web developer much easier and faster than they will do it on their own. So, if that is something that interests you, consider subscribing. So before we even actually start writing the code, I want to explain you on my whiteboard the basics that you need to understand before you even learn how to create login form using jQuery. So what we are going to create is, we will have one HTML form. So let's say this will be email, this will be password, we will have one login button, and now once a visitor click on this button, we will have a jQuery that will detect that click and use the data from these two inputs, email and password, validate, and if everything is okay, we will send the data to the PHP. Let's say here will be our PHP code. So jQuery and Ajax is basically the bridge between the client side and the server side. So I will say here jQuery. So if everything is okay, we'll send the data to the PHP. In the PHP, we will accept this information, connect with PHP to MySQL database, and if in the database we have the matching email and password, we will create a new session and return to the server the information that everything is okay. And also, if we don't have matching email and password, we will return the information that not everything is okay. And then in jQuery, so let's say here we are going to return. So jQuery is sending to the PHP, PHP is connecting to MySQL, and from the server, which is this, we are returning data again to the jQuery, to the client side. And now if everything is okay here, we are going, by using jQuery, redirect user to our, let's say we will name it hidden PHP file. So the goal is that this file is only accessible to the people who are logged in. So as you can see, the jQuery is basically only the bridge, and it only helps us to not refresh the page and to create the better user interface. Before we will create some form, and this form we will use to send data directly to the PHP, do all validation, and if it's okay, we will directly redirect to the hidden PHP. But now we use jQuery to validate those two inputs. If data is okay, we will send it to the server. On the server, we will check in the MySQL database, and then and there is everything okay, we will return message. I will say here return message to the jQuery, to the client side, and then jQuery will redirect the person to the hidden PHP. So this is just for you to have a visual representation of what is happening and which part jQuery is playing in the normal login PHP form. So let's now dive into the actual code. So now once you understand the basics and what you really need to understand for this tutorial, I will now go and write actually the code. So I have just opened my PHP store, created new project and created one empty file login.php. And also I have started my exam server, and if you using something else for your local host, just use it. So first thing that I'm going to do is I will just go to my PHP MyAdmin and create new database. So I will go to the new database name, let's say login tutorial. I will use UTF-8. Okay, and I will hit create. And let's say the name of my table will be users, like almost always, and I will just have, let's say, 4 columns, and I will have ID, type integer, auto increment. Let's say I will have first name, it will be varchar, let's say 50. Let's say I will have email or email varchar, let's say 50 again, and let's say we will have password. Okay, and we can use it as varchar too. So pretty much that's it, nothing special, and I'll click on the save. So now we have database login tutorial and we have table users. So now first thing that we are going to do is to create a basic HTML form that will be our login form. So I will just say HTML, I will make head, and in the head I will have title, and let's say in the body I will have form, method will be post, action will be this login PHP file, and we are going to have 2 inputs. First will be type text, ID will be email, and placeholder will be email. Another one will be, I'll just duplicate, type will be password, ID will be password, and placeholder will be password. And we are going to have one submit button. Submit, let's say value is login and ID will be login. So now we need to include the jQuery library, so I'm going to code.jquery.com, and here we have an options to choose the version of the jQuery that you are going to use, and those links are CDN links, which is very important for the speed of your website. So I will just use the latest minified because I'm not going to check any code, so I'll just click on minified, and as you can see here they have prepared for us actually the script that we just need to copy and paste into our HTML document. So you can select and copy or just click this button here, whatever you like. After that we will just before the closing body tag paste this code, and here we go. Okay, I will just do this. let me just min. So now we have included the jQuery library. And now let's write the code that will actually get the values from those inputs. So first we are going to define the part with text JavaScript code, and between those tags I will say document dot ready function, and here I'm going to write the code. So what this actually means is that we are waiting for the document to completely load, and once it loads we will execute this code here, this code. So while the document is not loaded, nothing will happen, because we always want to be sure that all of our elements on this page are ready to be used and manipulated by jQuery. So let's say I will just say console log page ready. Okay, so what this function is doing, it's actually printing the message in the console. And now we can go and test this. So login PHP, and here now if we go to the console, let's say I will clear console and now refresh page, and as you can see now when the page is loaded we get the message page ready. Before that it's not. And also here we can see that we have our form with email, password and login. So now let's just write the code that will get the value from those inputs. So first thing we will say, when someone press this login button, so we will say login dot on click, or we can say just click, but this is what I prefer. And here we can say var, which means we are going to declare new variable, and we will say var email equal, and now we will say email dot val. So this method is getting whatever is inside this input. So let's now try to print this in the console to see is there anything wrong with our code. So refresh this, and I will say here something and say login, and as you can see we have a problem, because this way of using the form is when we don't manipulate the data through the jQuery. And here all you need to do is you just change the submit to the button. So I just wanted to show you the difference. And now if we try, so as you can see now it's printing an empty message, and if we write something we will get that message and the page didn't refresh. So always keep in mind, now when you manipulate the data through jQuery, this button that is usually submit button shouldn't be any more submit button, and it should be the button. Or you can use it as submit, but here on submit you need to return false. But it's easier for you to remember, just use it as button. So now we also need to get the user password. So I would just do it like this, password. Okay, and now we can print and test password too, just to make sure that everything is okay. Refresh, and now as you can see we are getting the password. So that's it. So now you know how to get the data from those inputs, and also how to define when the page is ready and when someone pressed this button. So the next thing that we are going to do is actually now we need to create the bridge that I mentioned in the introduction, and we need to send our data to the server. But before that we are going to check if the data is empty. So if email equal empty or password equal empty, like this. So now if we test, now when someone press login, it will say please check your inputs if any of those two are empty. Okay, and if we fill, nothing will happen. Okay, and now if everything is okay, we will just now send all the details to our server. So I will call Ajax, and between those two we need to send an object. So I will say like this, and here we need to specify the URL where we will send our details, so it will be our file. After that we need to send some data, so again we need to create an object. So I will say login 1, because this is the key that we are going to check in our PHP code, and here we need to send an email and password. Okay, so those are the keys that we are expecting in the PHP. I can say like this, just for you, so that you know that those two things are different. And this is the data that we are sending, and since we stored in our variables the values of those inputs, so I'm going just to use it here. Okay, and now we need to define success function. So this means that when this Ajax query execute, we are going to get the response from the server inside this success function. So I'll say here response, and here we will expect some code. So let's say console log response. So we can see what the server has been returned. And the last thing that we need to do is this data type, and we can say just text. And now if we test this, everything should be fine. So let's test this. I will refresh. Login, please check your inputs. Okay. And now I'm going to put some inputs here. Login, and as you can see here, we have made one request to the server, and if we click on this server, we can see that we have used a request method is get, and here is the link where we made it. You can see the response from the server, and it is this page, because we are doing at the moment nothing in our PHP code. So now I will just show you how to change the get method. So if we didn't specify, it will be get method, and if we specify the method, then it will be that one. So I will use the post, and now if I test again, okay, so as you can see now in the headers the request method is post, and we can scroll down and see the form data, and as you can see what we are sending to the server. So this is useful for debugging of your application. So you can see here login 1, email PHP and password PHP. So those are the things that we need to expect in our PHP code. And the only one thing that we forget is if someone didn't input any data, we don't need to make request to the server. So we can say else like this, and now just move the code here. Okay, so now the request won't happen if someone didn't put anything in here. So please check your inputs, and there isn't any request. Okay, and now let's just write the PHP code that will expect those three parameters. Okay, so since we said we will use the same page, I will go here and say PHP, and here we will say if is set post, since our method is post login. So if this key exists, this part here will execute. So now we need to make a connection to our database. So we will say connection, or let's first accept the data. So we will say email equal post, and our key is email PHP. So email PHP, and the same thing we have for our password. Okay, and now we can return this to the client side, so just to make sure that everything is okay. So let's say like this, exit, and we will say email equal password, and we will print the return to our console log. So some email, and this is password temp, and click on the login, and as you can see we have got some email password temp, and just ignore those few things. This is from different plugins that I have, but this is important what we expect. Some email equal password temp, and if we go to the network, we can see that we have made the login PHP request, and this is a response. Okay, and in the headers, once again request method post, and form data is login 1, email PHP, password PHP. So that's it. And now the last thing that we need to do is we just need to connect to our database and check those details inside the database. So I will make a connection equal new MySQL, and here host I will specify as localhost, username I will specify as root, that is the default on my exam server, password is an empty, and here I'm going to specify the database name. And if you remember, our database name is login tutorial. So we'll say here login tutorial. Okay. And this we need to escape because we want to protect our form. So we'll just say connection real escape string, and we will use it here. Okay. So I will just copy paste this, and that's it. And now let's say, do we have this combination of email and password inside our table users? So we will say data equal connection query, select, let's say, ID from users, where email equal our email and password equal password. And now if data num rows bigger than 0, so that means if there is some data in the table with this email and password combination, we will just say, just for this test, success, and here else exit failed. So this is just for now. Let's test this part. So refresh, and now some email and some password login. Now if we check, the response is failed, and we can see that we sent those email and password, and the reason why it failed is because our table users is empty at the moment. So we are going just to insert one new, let's say Senaid. This will be my email, and let's say the password. At the moment it is not encrypted, but let's ignore it for now. Let's say like this. So now if we try this email test, click on the login, and now if we check here, as you can see, we have response success, and for the headers we have email and we have password. So now if you want, we can just encrypt the password. So let's say I will use just the basic MD5 encryption. So I will just go MD5 online because I don't have registration form. Okay. So I will insert the data manually, copy, and now let's change this, save, and now if we test the same details, login, we can see that response is failed, and the reason for that is because we are comparing the test with this. So in the PHP we also need to encrypt this code. So I will go to the password and I will say just here MD5 encryption of our password, like this, save, and now let's test the same details, login, and the response is success. So now not only that we have created the login form, but we also have encrypted our password. And the last thing is, now no one as your visitor is not going to look through the network, console, etc. And now I will just show you how to create nice feedback under this form. So I will just define here one. We can use paragraph, and for this paragraph I will specify the ID, and let's say it will be response, and inside this paragraph we will just show the data that is returned by the server. So now if we test this, we need to refresh. Okay, and now I will specify. Let's say my password will be wrong. Login. As you can see, now we have feedback failed, and if we have correct password, click on the login, it says success. And now I'm going here and I will specify the much nicer login success, and here we can say please check your inputs, and we can also specify the color. Let's say font color equal green. Those font tags are depreciated, so you shouldn't use them, but for the purpose of this tutorial it will be fine. But you should always use and change the color of the text by using CSS. So if we now press, you can see we have nice response and also the color, and if it's wrong, it's like this. So that part is finished, but now we need to create a session and redirect user to another page and show the data behind the login. So first line always needs to be to start a session, so we'll say session start. Here we need to check if our session already exists, and if it does, there is no reason for the person to log in again, and we will just redirect him to our hidden page. So I'll just say if set session, and let's say here logged in. We will just redirect person to the header location, and let's say hidden.php. Next. And now here we need, once the person, let's say okay, and here we will just create this session logged in. So we'll say session logged in equal, let's say 1, and here we will also in the session store the user email. So let's say equal email. Okay, and let's see now what will happen. So since we don't have hidden.php, let's just create it quickly. So I'll quickly go to the new PHP file, hidden, hit OK, and let's say for now we will just say this is hidden file. And now let's test this functionality. So now if we will just refresh this page, hit login, say please check your inputs. Let's now try, test, login, it says login success, and now it should create already the session. And now if we redirect, as you can see, it redirects our hidden file. And now if we try to log in again, it will always redirect back to this hidden file. So let me just now create you logout file, logout, just to delete those sessions. So I will say here session start, and I will unset session logged in, call session destroy, and redirect back to our login PHP. Okay, so this means remove logged in key, call the session destroy, that will delete all other sessions, and also redirect the person to the login PHP. So that is basically what almost every logout page is doing. So if we now call the logout, as you can see, it redirects back me to the login PHP. And if I refresh, it doesn't redirect me anymore to the hidden file because I don't have logged in session. So here we can see that this functionality is working, but it is not redirecting automatically the person to our hidden file. We just get the message login success. So here in the jQuery we can do something like this. If response dot index of, and let's say we are looking for the word success bigger or equal 0, we will just say window dot location equal, and we will redirect to the hidden.php file. So window dot location is a function that will just redirect person, and this is the function, so this is the method on the object response that will check do we have this matching word. So if the word success exists, we will redirect person. And let's try that. So I will just refresh this, and let's say this. So now if I put wrong the password, to say please check your inputs, and it's not going to redirect. And if I now put the correct password, say login success, and as you can see, it redirects me to the hidden PHP file. And now if I try to go again to the login PHP, it doesn't let me. So this is actually the functionality that we wanted to create at first. So here on the hidden PHP we have just the basic text, but let's say now we'll write the real PHP code. So we need again to check do we have the correct, is the person actually logged in. So we'll say if isset session logged in. So if isset, this code will execute, or let's say if not isset, so if the person is not logged in, we will redirect him back to the login PHP. And if he is, the other part of this page will execute, and we can say here you are logged in and save. And now let's try to refresh this hidden PHP. It says you are logged in. And now let's say we will call logout. Okay, and now let's try to open hidden.php. As you can see, it is always redirecting back to our login PHP. So only the persons that are logged in are able to see hidden PHP. So you can here just define one link. Let's say it will be to the logout. So nothing special on this page, but the functionality is important. And let's try once again the complete functionality. It says login success, and it redirects to the hidden PHP. And now we have option to click on the logout, and we are redirected back to the login. So guys, pretty much that's it. This is just, I believe, long tutorial, but really in depth, and you are going to learn everything about how to create login form, not only the difference between PHP and jQuery, but everything complete login tutorial. I hope so you'll find it useful, and if you do, please like it and share with your friends. That will be a huge support for me. And also, if you have any questions, please comment below and I will be sure to answer those, and trust me, I read all of them. So see you in the next video. Take care.